And I'm Shirley Gilbert. The weather forecast improves as we head toward the Thanksgiving holiday. We'll talk about it later on in the news.
And that'll be good news for travelers. And speaking of travelers, many airlines are dropping discount fares, but that won't stop millions of Americans from jamming into airports this holiday season. As a passenger, the best thing you can do is be prepared.
It's what we do suggest to the passengers is that they get there a little bit early and give us the benefit of having more time to process them and their luggage. The weather like this doesn't help us a lot, and it seems like every Thanksgiving we have some kind of weather. But those are the kinds of things that we can't do anything about. But what we can do something about is, I think as a general rule, our employees try to work a little bit faster, a little bit quicker on the holiday times.
The Piedmont spokesman also said the reason discount fares are being dropped is that the cost of doing business has increased. Planes and crews cost more, and landing fees have taken off as well. Travel records are expected to be made this holiday season by motorists, and the good news for Port City drivers is that we'll be paying the lowest average gasoline price of any city in the Carolinas. The Carolina Motor Club says the price difference is about 12 cents a gallon as you go from Wilmington to Greensboro. Self-service pumps, however, are 2 cents a gallon more than last Thanksgiving, but still average nearly 30 cents a gallon less than full-service facilities. The State Highway Patrol will also be out in full force over Thanksgiving. The North Carolina Patrol will again participate in Operation CARE, a combined accident reduction effort by the nation's Highway Patrol and state police agencies. The Thanksgiving holiday is scheduled to run from 6 o'clock tonight through midnight on Sunday night. Aides to the governor say Jim Martin was shocked last week over the parole of a drug dealer who served just 3 years of a 35-year sentence, and the parole had been approved by people the governor appointed. Now it's reported that the governor will decide next week whether to call an emergency session of the General Assembly to lift the limit on the number of convicts who may be held in state prisons. The governor has discussed the possibility of the session with Lieutenant Governor Bob Jordan and Attorney General Lacey Thornburg. The governor will announce his decision next week. 19 South Carolina inmates will be given furloughs to visit their families for Thanksgiving. Tony Strawhorn of the State Department of Corrections says the practice gives inmates an extra incentive to successfully rejoin society. He acknowledges the furlough programs were given higher visibility by the recent presidential campaign. South Carolina has a furlough program for Christmas, Easter, July 4th, and Labor Day. And inmates who successfully complete at least 4 consecutive furloughs are entitled to an additional furlough, which they can take on Thanksgiving. To win furlough, inmates must earn the trust of South Carolina corrections officials. Wilmington police are looking for a suspect in connection with the armed robbery of a convenience store early this morning. Authorities say the fast fare located in the 4900 block of University Drive was held up shortly before 1 a.m. by a man carrying a handgun. There were no injuries in the robbery, and the suspect fled through the College Manor apartment complex. Officials are looking for a white male, approximately 19 years old, with blonde hair, 5 feet 3 inches tall, weighing 125 pounds. A small amount of money was taken. The projects, it's an unflattering term that has become synonymous with low-income inner-city housing. Crime, poverty, and apathy are other terms often associated with housing developments. Judy Wright reports on whether we have an accurate picture of life in the projects.
They would ask where you live, and a lot of people were shocked if I told them that I lived in Turnkey. They were like, "You live in Turnkey?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Well, how come you do so well in school?" And how come? I was like, "Well, you know, that doesn't really have to do anything with where you live. It's, you know, it's all in your mind. It's what you want to do with yourself."
That's the attitude that earned Sandra McClammy A's and B's in high school and got her on the way to a secondary education degree at UNCW. But she realizes things could have been different.
If you live like in a lower disadvantaged environment such as that, you have to find ways to try and get out of it. And crime always seems like the first thing that they fall, first trap that they fall into.
High crime rather than honor roll students is what we usually associate with housing projects.
An area where that is more concentrated as far as housing, you're going to have more crime.
People too close together. They can hear everything you say, jump right into it.
But housing officials and police officers agree it's not the residents who create the problems.
Most of the people that live within our housing developments are God-fearing, law-abiding citizens of the community. The people that are actually creating the problems don't even live within those housing developments.
Low-income single-parent families and the elderly characterize public housing. And like everyone else, they want to be able to hang their laundry and play with their children in safety. For the past 4 years, it's been Officers Thad Waddell and Gerald Lincoln's responsibility to ensure that safety.
When they see you and you get out and talk to the people, you know, one-on-one, they can relay the problems, and sometimes it can be taken care of before it's blown out of proportion.
Drugs, crime, and apathy. From the outside looking in, that's what life in public housing looks like. And there is some of each there, as in every American neighborhood. But there's also a lot of Sandra McClammy's as well. Judy Wright, WECT News Center.
A legislative study panel has agreed to consider requiring the state schools to teach students about sex and contraceptives. The idea is that teaching the subject will curb the worsening teen pregnancy problem before it gets out of control. The North Carolina Adolescent Pregnancy Study Commission also endorsed, in principle, a statewide funding network that would distribute more than $1 million a year to help communities launch anti-pregnancy projects. 798 of the state's children aged 14 and younger were reported pregnant last year. That number includes 6 who were 10 years old. Coming up on News Center, the cost of a Thanksgiving meal in the Tar Heel State and keeping that pre-cooked turkey enjoyable and safe.
Come home to the best weekday afternoons, only on WECT. At 1, Days of Our Lives brings you scintillating storylines, exciting characters, and some of the finest acting on daytime television.
What about you, Justin? How would you do if this was your baby?
Frankly, Angelica, I'm the wrong person to ask.
Then at 2, Another World shows you that we do not live in this world alone, but in 1,000 other worlds.
Lisa, who is pregnant?
Vicki Hudson.
With Jameis' child?
At 3, watch Santa Barbara, named Outstanding Drama Series in the 1988 Daytime Emmy Awards.
My wife was raped. She was 13 years old. She didn't tell anybody, didn't talk to anybody. She had the baby. Then everybody called her a tramp. Her mother, everybody. And still she can't deal with it.
And at 4, there's no place like Oprah. The Oprah Winfrey Show asks all the questions you want to ask.
This thing, Brad over here, I saw on Metzger's talk show advocating gassing all black people. That's what these people are about.
The best weekday afternoons, only on WECT.
This week has been declared Farm City Week with a nationwide 1988 theme saluting 200 years of American agriculture. Farming started the land and fed the nation's first settlers, so it seems appropriate that the farming celebration should fall during Thanksgiving. Families